good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And like today, like we are more than excited to have Nabrun from the Kubernetes community over here. I first came across Nabrun reading his blog post, and like I was like I really enjoyed that. That's why I thought, okay, he is the great, like he would be the best guy to like get us started on our journey. And a little bit more about Nabrun. Like Nabrun has been the release lead for Kubernetes 1.21, and then he's also like involved with the PyCon-India community, and he's right now working with VMware as an open source engineer. So yeah, without further ado, Nabarun Pal for all of you guys.
Hey everyone, thanks Jitin for reading the blog. I don't know how many people read that, but that's great to hear that someone like derived some value out of that blog. Um, so for today, I don't have much slides and all, but I'm going to do it in a style called Pecha Kucha. So you try to convey your thoughts using pictures. So very minimal slides I have, but they have no text. They are just pictures. So I'm going to describe my journey in maybe 10-15 minutes, and then we can do a open discussion session. I love to have discussions, dialogues, instead of talks and monologues. So uh, like feel free to ask me anything, and then just talk. Um, Let it be like a both way kind of conversation. Let me now try to share my screen. Can you see the tab?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. I guess it's visible, right? Okay. So this is the Pechikucha style of like conveying thoughts. Um, so first, my name is Nabarun, and the meaning of my name is heavily related to this picture. So can people guess like what this picture means? Just as a trivia.
Sunrise.
Yes. Um, any more guesses?
Dawn.
Yes. So my name is a Bengali name, and it means the rising sun. So Nava Arun, which means new sun in Bengali. I think the words are derived from Sanskrit and then Bengali. So that's why this picture is very relevant to who I am and what my name means. I belong from this tiny state in the northeast part of India called Tripura. I am born and brought up there and have lived there for 16-ish years, and then moved around like several places in India. So this is the old palace of Tripura. And after 16 years living there, I started preparing for something called an IIT JEE, which is an entrance examinations for some colleges in India. And through those examinations, I could get like a decent rank and joined IIT Roorkee as a materials engineer. So I was studying metallurgical and materials engineering, and that was my major. And I joined with a very open thought process. I wanted to learn metallurgy. I wanted to make a career in material science because that very much intrigued me. But I had ties towards computation as well. Since childhood, I loved computers, and I wanted to do something on a conjunction of both of these domains, something like computational materials. So in my first year, I tried researching on things, reading stuff. Even in second year, I tried doing those. But during this period of exploration, I explored robotics and hobbyist electronics, and I eventually joined the robotics team of my college. And here is our board and the team. So we participated in a lot of competitions. Our primary goal was to participate in this competition called Debut Robocon. Eventually, we got some good results. uh, in few years. I was there for almost 3.5 years of my time, almost 3.5 years of 4 years of my time in the college. But computation always remained in my heart. So I joined this company called Roro Data during my internship, and I had fun working with them on some open source libraries. So Firefly was a project that we built during my internship year back in 2017. Uh, it was a great learning experience for me. The project mostly was how do you let data scientists not worry about uh, infrastructure or software engineering in practice, but they should be just concerned about running their machine learning workloads or data science workloads on cloud. How can we make things easier for them? Lambda Pool was also a related project, but Lambda Pool I did when I was a full-time engineer at Roto Data. I spent like a good uh, 2 years and 9 months working there. A part of it when I was in fourth year of my undergrad, and even after graduating, I joined them full time and happened to work for them for more 1 year and 8 months after that. Now, when I built Firefly, I also applied to some conferences as my mentor there suggested me that speak, read, then only you can broaden your horizons, and that really worked well. So when I was in the fourth year of my undergrad, I spoke at PyData Delhi, PyCon-India, which was in Delhi, and then First Asia Summit Singapore in 2018. At all three conferences, I made a lot of good friends and new connections, and that's why I attend conferences. It's not for the information in terms of technology, but it's for the networking and socializing opportunity that in-person conferences give me. And this is one of the big takeaways from my journey, that the kind of open source work that I do and the kind of community that I work in, all of that has been possible due to interacting with people. Now, after I graduated, I moved to Hyderabad, working full time at Roro Data. And during that time only, before I graduated, I applied to this fellowship called John Hunter Matplotlib Summer Fellowship. It was a 3-month program to work on a specific project called Matplotlib, which you may know as a charting library, and we wanted to work on a extension to Matplotlib which understands Altair visualization formats. That's basically a declarative format. I had fun working there, but eventually did not continue much because I was getting more interested towards infrastructure topics and less on visualization and data science. Then while at Data, I moved to Bangalore. Uh, Hyderabad was a fun experience, but then it was time to move cities because the company changed cities. Post moving to Bangalore, I started. So it was during Hyderabad itself. When I was a Data, I started contributing to the Kubernetes community. Part and parcel of the reason was that we were trying to build a product which used the Kubernetes client. And since our code was completely written in Python, I got started with using the Python client. And that's how I thought, why not fix the problems that we have with the client itself? And that's what started my Kubernetes journey, or the Kubernetes open source journey. Uh, when I was contributing to the Kubernetes Python client, I also started looking at other projects inside the Kubernetes community. And one of the things that really interested me was the release team. So below, if you see the image, it is the logo of the Kubernetes 1.17 release, which was the first time that I joined the release team as a shadow. This amongst all of the open source work, I uh, was thinking to switch to more of an infrastructure engineering role where I would uh, dive deep into the infrastructure nuances, into the SRE or ops world, trying to understand more of how do we make pipelines resilient? How do we make our infrastructure resilient? So I joined Clarisites as an infrastructure engineer and spent about 11 months there. While at Clarisites, I was contributing to the Kubernetes project as a hobby on my own time and built more expertise there, grew uh, in the ranks of the release team. And eventually, few of my friends at VMware asked me like, "Hey, can you or do you want to do what you're doing as a hobby as a full-time job?" And my answer was very trivial. Sure, why not? Because I love to do open source. I love to be around the community. I love to have my code out in the open. So why not just take the plunge and make open source as your day job? So I joined this beautiful team called VMware Tanzu Kubernetes Grade core team. So to give a brief overview, so VMware does all kinds of virtualization solutions, and Tanzu is a product which delves more into containerization, application management, simplifying operations. And inside the Tanzu product line, there is a product called Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, which is basically the runtime layer for all Tanzu products. So I joined the core team to work solely on upstream open source, and then we built the team, and now we have 5 people working solely on Kubernetes upstream project and maintaining the stability of the project. And while all of this was going, I got a chance to lead a Kubernetes release. So I led the Kubernetes 1.21 release team back in this January to April. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life till today. Leading a team, all the leading a team which was mostly uh, your Western Europe or US centric was a bit tricky, but then the eventual goal was to like embed more asynchronous practices in the release team so that anyone in the world can contribute to the release team in an effective fashion. Because right now, if you want to attend the meetings, you have to be awake like until 12 o'clock midnight. And I'm talking about just Indian time zones. If I have to talk about more Eastern time zones like China, Japan, or Australia, or New Zealand, they would have to probably uh, be awake at like 4 a.m. or so. So we wanted to build more async practices like duplicated meetings in the back time zone, giving updates in an async way in the doc, and then people just do pre-reads and not read it out during the meeting. And more of like talk on mailing list, talk on public Slack channel, so that there is less friction and more context whenever people in other time zones are awake. So one cool fact about my release team was that these were spread over UTC plus 8 to UTC minus 8, which was, I think, basically China to the US Pacific coast. So I had to manage like a 16 hours of time span. That's why I felt it was a great journey in itself. Uh, and right now, I recently got elected to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct Committee. Uh, and apart from that, as part of my VMware duties, I work on the Kubernetes API machinery, Kubernetes architecture, and code organization aspects of the community. And that is how my journey from uh, when I was born to the current state. And that's all I have. These are some of my social links. Feel free to ping me anywhere. I also joined the Discord server, so if you want to ping me there, I am there as well. If you want to hop on Twitter, ping me. My Twitter ID is the only Nabarun, or you can just follow me on GitHub as well. So that's all I had. I don't have anything else to share. So let's just start talking and just chat amongst ourselves. That was a big monologue.
Yo, no, man, thanks. Like, we got a lot of insights from that. Thanks a lot for the thing. So, I guess right now, like, if you have any doubts, you can ask them. I go first. So like one thing is one thing we hear from a lot of our fellow challengers, and like something that like even I had doubts with is like for example Kubernetes is a very mature project, right? So like hopping onto a mature project can be like really intimidating and also like really challenging as well. Do you have any like how do you manage to get on something like that is as polished as Kubernetes and actually deliver some value to those communities?
So that is like an indeed a tricky question. So I myself still face this issue. So Kubernetes, I would say it's a big community. It's mature in community sense, but then the product is still moving around. Kubernetes is still not a boring product. So I feel like products which are stable and mature, they're boring. So Kubernetes is still not as boring as we want it to be. We want it to be very stable and boring. At the end of the day, that's our goal. But then a lot of interesting stuff is going on in the Kubernetes community. To find your way through such communities, one way I suggest everyone is to first see what, on a very good breadth level, what is there in the community, what are the components of the project. Uh, you can extrapolate this to a programming language as well. For example, if I talk about Python or Go, if you want to contribute to Python or if you want to contribute to Go, you have to understand like what all components are there uh, of the language or of the project. For example, in the Kubernetes community, there are groups which focus on the API machinery side of things. There are groups which focus on the runtime. Uh, what runs on a machine? How do you run a container on a machine? Uh, there are groups which are involved with how do you schedule your containers on machines. There are groups which work on the security aspects of Kubernetes, authentication, authorization. Then there is the release team which works under SIG release. So you have to find what you really want to contribute to, and in order to do that, you have to know like breadth of the community. And once you know the breadth, go depth into one component that you are really passionate about. And it's all about like aligning to your goals. Like, why are you contributing to Kubernetes? So, Jitin, like, if you allow, like, I can take example of our conversation itself. Is it fine?
Man, definitely go ahead.
Okay. So Jitin pinged me like he wanted to contribute on an intersection of like Kubernetes and machine learning. So that's like a goal. So that's like a good short-term goal or mid-term goal that you want to be involved with machine learning as well as the orchestration side of things. So there are projects which get involved with those. Knative, then Knative is a community which runs like serverless stuff on Kubernetes, and as such is a bit related. Then you have the KEDA project. It's an event-driven architecture. So when you or there is Kubeflow as well, which is kind of Airflow but more on Kubernetes concept side of things. So find a goal, dissect it, that what you want to do, and then give milestones to yourself. Like, okay, so I'm going to do this, and the next thing would be this. Like reach your goal by taking small baby steps. So that's what my suggestion is to like grow up through a big community. The other there is one aspect to this is you have to find someone who can mentor you. Mentorship is also very important. Uh, Personally, it's a very difficult task to find a mentor that you can really gel with, because a mentor has to give you directions on like breaking down your goals into small actionable items. And finding such a person is the key. And I feel like seniors in the community, everyone is a good mentor in one way or the other. It's important to find whom you are gelling up really good with, whom your ideas match with. So there are two aspects to it.
Nice, thanks, man. Like, yeah, like the mentor aspect is actually, I guess, is actually coming up to a pretty important point here. That's why we have obviously have the community. Hopefully, we can help people with that. But like, one thing is like, if you are starting from scratch, like with what you know, how would you start off with into Kubernetes?
So, okay, let's say today I don't know anything about Kubernetes community and I want to start. First thing I would go through the developer docs. I'll go through the contribution guide. Uh, and what is the goal of doing it? The goal is to understand how do I even set up the project group and run it. So you can anyways like download the binaries and run Kubernetes. But do you want to do it? If yes, sure do it. But then in order to challenge yourself, go build the source code and run it. There are like 90% chances that you'll stumble somewhere. Even if the Kubernetes documentation is pristine, the local environments differ. And that's a good opportunity to go to the community and ask questions. Do that. Uh, so what I would do, go to the contribution guide. And so as I told, before that I would have a goal, right? What part of the code base I want to contribute to. So let's say that is API machinery. I want to understand more of the Kubernetes API server and how do we talk to it, how do we modify certain things and build more features. So I'll run the Kubernetes API server aspect of it. Now my examples here are very Kubernetes specific. If I have to give a generic example, let's say I want to contribute to Go, and this is an actual goal for me. I'm not taking it as an example, but taking it as a real goal. So in Go, I want to really be involved with the tooling side of things. So when you install Go, you have all the Go subcommands, right? You have Go build, Go run, Go list, Go mod. I really want to know how those things are done. So what I would do is I go through the Go. So what I did was I downloaded the Go source code. I signed their contributor license agreement. I set up my environment like they wanted me to. And then I would go through the issue tracker. I would filter by labels, which talk about Go/tools. And then find issues that I can understand. Or I feel like, okay, this may be prioritized. So good things about these communities is they do really good issue triage. So there would be a priority thing attached. In Kubernetes, we have a priority label. Go has something else. They put it into next versions or something like that. So these are two examples of how I started out in the community. In both, the goal is very important. What you want to achieve.
Okay. So setting up the goal, then breaking it down to like small sizable chunks that you can attack,
Yeah.
and then just going ahead and attacking it, right?
Now, what I'm saying may sound very easy, but it's not very easy to do. So I have like oversimplified the scenario. It's very difficult to even find a goal. Why you want to contribute to a project. Commercially, if you are working for some company and then you want you to contribute to some area of a project, then it becomes very trivial, right? That you already have a goal.
Yep, yep.
I think is it okay if I jump in? I'd love to ask. So what I found from talking to a lot of people is that they often don't think like they're good enough or that they're smart enough. They get really overwhelmed by the documentation, and that thought starts to play on their mind. And I'm just wondering, like, typically they're quite overwhelmed. It's quite daunting. It's scary. They've never done it before. I'm just wondering, Nabarun, if you have any advice for people that are in that situation and really battling with it.
It is very close to me personally because I battled with the same things 2 years back. Contributing to Kubernetes is very daunting experience at the start. But then what helped me was just to dive into the community, just go to the meetings. So I still remember when I joined the first Kubernetes Python client meeting, I just joined there and said, hi, I'm Nabarun, and I came here to contribute to the Python client because I see so and so faults, and I would love to get involved and fix those problems. So I feel it is very important to go to meetings if it is possible in your time zone. If it is not possible, just introduce yourself on Slack. Now, with Large communities, the community is very conducive to people. Like if you go and say hi, like there would be like at least like 10 emoji reactions, 15 people telling you hi, welcome to the community, what do you want to do, how can we help you out. From our side, we are also doing a lot to alleviate this issue of people like feeling overwhelmed by a large community. What we do is, in most of the SIG meetings, we have this section before even we start with the agenda, that if there are any new contributors and they want to like introduce themselves, please feel free to do so. Uh, we feel like it is a very good thing to do as an icebreaker, because people may not be like willing to pitch into serious work stuff until like we know who they are or they know who we are. Such practices, I guess, try to solve this problem.
Interesting. I mean, that sounds like, yeah, it's quite, rather than starting at, I guess, GitHub issues and seeing all the work that's happening there, just trying to dive head first into code, maybe start with the people, start with the community, and like you said, introduce yourself, make yourself known. And I guess like the intention there, like from your perspective as a maintainer, like how can someone like that add value for you? How can they help you? Is that, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh yeah, it was just a question, like how can they help you?
So it's more of like what's on our task list, as in what's on our priority. So, so there are like two sides here. Like, what does the new contributor want to contribute to, and where do we need help right now? So it's a two-way street, and not always the expectations match, because people may be coming for if I take the SIG release for example, the release special interest group has two specific sub-projects. One is the release team sub-project, which handles the operational aspects of the release, and there is the release engineering sub-project, which handles more on the tooling side of the release. So now there may be work on the tooling side of things, but then people may really want to contribute to the release. So we try to bridge that gap and mention very explicitly like what do we need help with. And even in a lot of these SIG meetings that we have, we ask like people, hey, do you want to take this up? Like we ask the floor. If anyone wants to take it up, please raise your hand. We can mentor you. We can tell you how can you navigate through this problem. And it all depends on the interest, like whether the person is interested or not. Did I answer your question well?
Yeah, well, that kind of, it's great to hear you say that, because I think like what we're learning is just that engagement with the maintainer and understanding, what can you say that can really like help them if your intentions really are genuine. And I think from what you're saying, there's no harm in saying, how can I help? How can I help? How can I may not know everything. I may not, I may have all of these problems, but I'm not sure if I'm up to the task, but like my intentions are good. And, I really want you to know that I want to help. So if they like coming to a maintainer, there's no harm in that, right? Just asking how I can help.
Yep. Most of the time, what it matters is intent, because we really want people to stick to the community. So we also try to like, if you have intent, we will teach you, we will mentor you, we will show you how the code is structured. We don't have any problems with that, because at the end of the day, if it helps you out, it is also helping us. We are getting one continuous contributors in the community.
Gotcha. Oh well, yeah. I'll leave that there. But thanks so much. It's really great to have your insights. Really appreciate it.
Hi Nabarun, I have a question.
Yeah, but
Hey, thank you for doing this. I come from a JavaScript background, and I looked up the Kubernetes space. It felt like I don't really have a lot to contribute anywhere. I mean, what are your thoughts on people coming from that background? You know, for contributing to Kubernetes.
So the Kubernetes project right now is predominantly Go. So there are not many opportunities for any programming language other than Go. But there are some areas which you as a JavaScript person can contribute to. Uh, the first area is the Kubernetes dashboard. So there is a special interest group called UI who own the Kubernetes dashboard, and that's written in Angular. So possibly you may want to see that. Now I don't know like which part of JavaScript that you're involved with, but if you're willing to like work with Angular, I think that's a good opportunity to contribute. Also, uh, it would be very helpful if you contribute there because I don't think that part of the project sees much involvement from contributors. That's like a good ground to start contributing because people would be willing to mentor you because they will see like okay, here we have someone who is really interested. Why not grow that person into a reviewer or a approver in some time? The second project that you can contribute to is the Kubernetes JavaScript client. So I was a Python person. Uh, I've written like production Python for 3 years. So the natural choice for me was to start with the Kubernetes Python client. And then eventually I learned Go and then started contributing to uh, the other areas of Kubernetes. So that's how I see this approach to be working.
Thanks, Nabarun. Thank you.
Looking forward to see you in the dashboard community. It's interesting.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Harold.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Nabarun, for the time. And my background is in Python. My question is, what kind of hard skills, especially in Python, and soft skills, aided you to have what you have right now?
Uh, so in terms of soft skills, it's just going in there and letting people know of your presence. It's a bit tough for me because I am traditionally a shy person. Uh, so it takes a lot of effort on my part to go into meetings and introduce myself. But I'm trying to work on that. And with like leading a release team and like, hosting meetings, I am kind of out of that cocoon. But it's very important in terms of soft skills is to go and just make your presence felt. Uh, Also, the Kubernetes community is predominantly uses like English as the language to communicate. So if someone can speak, read, write in English, it's easier. But then we know of this problem that uh, other people from regions who do not have English as their primary or secondary language struggle to make their presence in the community, and we are actively trying to uh, make progress there. Now, in terms of hard skills in Python, obviously, knowing the language, being able to write code in Python, being able to understand what are the architectural paradigms of how the client is written helpful. Even with Go, in Go it's a bit easier because Go is a very minimal programming language, does not have much features. Python is very big compared to Go. So in terms of hard skills, I find like trying to understand the code and then trying to basically make sense of the logic is very important when you try to understand an issue.
Thank you.
Right. So my question is from, after running this challenge, like, one of the most common problem was like someone would find an interesting open source project, and what happens is like there is like a limited good first issues in those projects, right? But most of the times, they are either taken or, like someone is working on it. Like there's very high demand for these good first issues, which I think is like the fundamental part for a beginner to get started with, right? So, like imagine a scenario where this is not available. A good first issue is not there. How what would be the alternatives you recommend for them to contribute to that project? When there is no set of good first issues they can take up to start with.
This is very close to the Kubernetes community because we never have unassigned good first issues. Whenever we label an issue good first issue, someone or other takes it. Now the thing is, in the Kubernetes project, there are no good first issues as such. Because of it being such a complicated product, it gets impossible to have a good first issues. What we alternatively have is something called a help wanted table. So help wanted issues are those, they are differentiated from good first issues in a way that usually in help wanted issues we already have steps how to do it, and we just need someone to come in and do it. That is one way to find it. But the most efficient way that I see in any open source project to get beginner issues is to directly talk to the maintainers in the community that, hey, I am a new person, I have interest in so and so areas, and can you give me an issue? Very few times that the maintainer will give you a good first issue. They will always give you a low hanging fruit, which is not very hard, but is not tagged good first issue. Now, personally, I feel the approach that we have seen in the past half decade, at least when I started to be involved in the GitHub scenario, is that the culture of good first issues has gone to a very different level. Because as and when we get more engineers in the community who want to work on open source, we really put exhaust out of good first issues, because I don't think the growth of good first issues is as high as the number of people coming out in the community. So we need to find innovative solutions. And one of the solutions I feel like, okay, go talk to people, just get an issue to work on, because that will then align with your goals as well. So I personally have seen this change, because earlier when I was starting, when I had zero interactions in real life with the actual project maintainers, I just used to go see GitHub and okay, there are so many good first issues, but all of them are assigned. I got demotivated and then okay, close the project. I felt like if somebody came to me 5 years back and told me this approach that, hey, just go to the mailing list, send an email, send a well-written email that, hey, I am so and so, I come from so and so background, this is my interest, can I get some issues to work on? That would have been like far more impactful for me, I believe. So we just need to change our strategy of finding projects and finding good first issues. There will still be good first issues, but then the maintainers will beg them directly and give it to you.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because it was something we knew, but we didn't have much, evidence. But coming from you with experience, it just makes it, now we can write it down somewhere with confidence and hopefully tell people recommend that this is a very good strategy if you can't find a good first issue. So yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that insight.
So I just remembered one example. So I told you about the John Hunter Fellowship, right? I had practically no idea of what either Altair or Matplotlib. I used Matplotlib, but I had practically no idea of Altair. When I saw the fellowship, then I came to know this approach. I just emailed Jake Vanderplas, who was the author of Altair, who wrote the spec along with someone. I wrote both of them an email. I just sent them the same email in a thread. So they both were as the recipients of the email. Said, hey, I saw this opportunity. I am very interested. I read this book called Grammar of Graphics. I was interested in visualization libraries, and hence I would like to contribute to this. Even if I don't get through the fellowship, I really want to get involved and try out my luck in the project, whether I rock it or not. 2 days later, I got an email from them. I got a response from one of them. They told me that, hey, we are not maintaining the fellowship, but then talk to the Matplotlib maintainers, and they did not tell me to ping them myself. They just CC'd them on the thread, and they again responded to me. Now, I don't think this would have happened if I just lurked around GitHub issues and randomly communicated there. So that's why personally I felt it to be very effective way. Now, if someone pings me on Slack, emails me, Slack is the new cool stuff to do this. But then, even if someone emails me that, hey, Nabarun, I am so and so, I would like to contribute to Kubernetes, I'd be more than willing and happy to help them out in their journey. So that's how I see it. Thanks for this question, which brought up this experience. I just remembered about this.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing. Like that clears up a lot of doubts we had regarding how to have the right method, right? Like there's no one single, but there's like a list of things. But this is definitely one of the top. Thank you. So I guess any other questions? Then maybe JJ, we can wrap it up if there's no other questions.
Guys, I have one more question.
Yes.
Yeah, Navarun, I really like your approach towards helping out the newbies. I'm a newbie myself. I mean, I have less than a year experience in JavaScript. I mean, are there other people out there who you know of personally, who have a similar kind of mindset towards, talking to people like us who want to break into open source and contribute? Because I don't know of people, having an approach like this. And when I just heard you, I felt like, it's really healthy to have someone like you just be there and probably just email someone like you and talk about how we can approach breaking into something like this, or just continuing once we've broken into it, how just continuing it on a good path. Do you know of other people? Probably I would like to email them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am. So this all experiences are not just coming from me, but they're also a lot responsible for this mindset of mine. So there are people like Dims. You just go to twitter.com/Dims and find his profile. Dims helps a lot of new contributors to come up in the Kubernetes community effectively. And it's not just in areas where Dims knows stuff. Dims knows a lot of Kubernetes, but then he helps out new contributors. There is Nikita Raghunath, who also mentors a lot of people in coming up to the community. And then we have mentored people recently who are now mentoring new contributors, and we feel really happy to do it, to see them grow and also help other people out. There is Madhav, there is Arsh. If you so, I'm just giving out all these names, but then you just need to join the Kubernetes Slack and join this channel called in-dev, where you would see all of us like hanging around. Uh, that is like a really nice place if you want to just talk to people. You don't even need to mail them privately. You can just put on the channel that, hey, I am Bharat, I have experiences in such domains, I want to contribute to this place in the Kubernetes community. Can you just connect me to people or give me pointers? People would be like willing to like happily help you out. And I believe like
yeah, thanks.
sorry,
Yeah.
I was just concluding that, and I believe like all other programming language communities or other projects will also have such people. Just that I have more context of the Kubernetes community. Who want to help.
Sure. But I get the gist. Thank you very much, Nabarun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for this question.
Guys, if you have any questions, like don't shy away, and I'll ask them.
Last
Like,
1 minute.
Yeah.
Last one.
Yeah, I mean, if nobody has any questions, we will put number we can share. I mean, like the email, we'll share it with the Discord private channel, not the public. We know what happens if we put it publicly. I mean, so yeah, we'll put his like email and like Kubernetes Slack on a community. So if anyone want to jump on and like ask any follow-up questions with Nabarun, feel free to do so. If no one else has any questions, we will wrap it up, right, JJ?
Yep. I was also wondering, like I see a soldering iron over there, and are you working on a mechanical keyboard or something? Ah, nice.
Just built day before yesterday. I was awake until 2 o'clock to finish it.
Nice.
I'm new to this. Like, why do you need a soldering iron for a mechanical keyboard?
Because I need to solder the components and the switches also.
Oh, so what does the soldering do exactly?
Soldering basically, so you have this thing called printed circuit board, which is a PCB. It just has like holes for stuff, and so if you have like electrical components, then you put the electrical components into those holes, and then use solder and a soldering iron to basically solder them through. I don't know what's the mechanical.
It's actually pasting them together. I mean,
pasting them together.
Completing the circuit kind of thing. Yeah.
Basically coupling the circuit and the components together. That's the correct. Thanks, Vignesh.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have a PC, so I can't relate.
Others, if so, I can probably help you build one. I've built a couple before.
I don't have a PC as well, but I use it on my laptop. Although my laptop is a good keyboard, I use a ThinkPad, but still I love mechanical keyboards.
Yeah, man, same thing. But I guess Vignesh, you are also into mechanical keyboards.
No, not specifically mechanical keyboards. I'm mostly into PC building as a whole.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I wish.
Do it again. We'll do
No,
that.
it was awesome like talking to you folks. It was a great Sunday morning for me.
Yep, same. Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this with our community in Nabarun. It was like awesome to have you share insight.
I am anytime for talking with people. So I have this one-on-one thing that anyone can, if you want, can just sign up to talk.
Yo. I guess others, we'll post it on the Discord group also. Is it okay, Nabarun?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. I'll add Nabarun to the private community, so we can share these links with our members too. So yeah, done and done.
Okay, man. Again, it's been really awesome. Yeah. Hope everyone had a good time, and I guess that's it.
Awesome. Have a nice Sunday, rest of the Sunday, everybody. Or
Saturday.
Saturday. Somebody had Saturday here. I don't remember, but still.
Yeah.
Yep. See ya.
Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.